Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Thank you for joining me here for the Taz Effect, coming to you live over the airways, the radio airways that is, at gcpr.live, and you can see and hear me via Facebook, Substack, TikTok, and YouTube. And this is the Taz Effect, daily news in a way you did not know you could use. Coming in hot and heavy, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says he doesn't know how Trump is still alive with his diet of candy, McDonald's, and Diet Cokes. We're all wondering that. We're all wondering that because how, especially how this new administration is telling us we can be healthier and we can afford it if we just eat a piece of chicken, a piece of broccoli, and a tortilla for dinner every day. I wish I was joking, but a White House representative legitimately said that. But let's get into it. Health and Human Services, HHS, Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said that he can't comprehend how President Donald Trump Jr. is still alive. Donald Trump Sr., my bad, is still alive after years of eating candy and McDonald's food. Trump famously has a red button at his Oval Office desk to order Diet Cokes. During an appearance on the Katie Miller podcast this week, Kennedy claimed that Trump had the most unhinged eating habits. I know Katie Miller. It seems like, she's the biggest Bonnie to the Clyde of her husband, Stephen Miller. But she keeps bringing on members of this regime so that they can talk shit about one another. Like, whose side are you really on, Katie? Because I would think that a big component of the propaganda machine for the Trump regime, you wouldn't keep getting them to talk shit about one another and slipping in ways to disrespect your husband. But I guess the interesting thing about the president is that he eats really bad food, which is McDonald's, the HHS secretary told the show's host and former Trump administration aide Katie Miller. Then candy and Diet Coke, but he drinks the Diet Coke at all times. Couple things. RFK Jr., we remember that photo of you on Trump's plane eating some looking lukewarm McDonald's too. Two, y'all know why Katie Miller is no longer aide at the White House, right? Well, I'm going to tell you, rumor had it that she was swapping undercarriage juices with Elon Musk. Yes, that Elon Musk. And when Musk left, she left too. And then she popped out with a podcast. But she went back, she stayed with her daywalker husband. I guess he's a good man, Savannah. He has a constitution of a deity. I wouldn't go that far. Landfill, yes. Deity, I don't know about that one. He added, I don't know how he's alive, but he is. We all don't know that. None of us don't know that. Oh, okay. TikTok, we have been flagged for harassment and bullying. So, once again, to those viewing on TikTok, should the stream end, we are available on Substack, Facebook, and YouTube, or you can listen in at gcpr.live. That is gcpr.live. Let us continue. He says that the only time that he eats the junk food is when he's on the road and he wants to eat food from big corporations because he trusts it and he doesn't want to get sick when he's on the road, Kennedy said. This is a telltale sign of somebody who did not grow up with money. But also, let's not forget that he sends a bevy of aides to neighboring locations to get him McDonald's on the regular. Despite this, the HHS secretary noted that Trump's eating habits at Mar-a-Lago are more refined. A lot of people have been visiting Mar-a-Lago for different events and posting specifically TikToks and videos on Instagram showing the food that is available there. It's not much more refined. It's not. But when he's at Mar-a-Lago or at the White House, he's eating really good food. He then pointed out, no, he's not. No, he's not, because Trump has proudly shown us what he serves people who visit the White House. So is it better because he adds Burger King to the menu? Like on his private plane, he serves cold KFC from his own social media post. Like it's easy to confirm. Why do they lie? Like, oh, because the people that they know will listen to them are willing to lie for them and don't fact check anything. That's why. But, yeah. So, word on the curb is that since the United States, aka the Trump regime, invaded Venezuela, they have started selling oil. Are the US people going to see any benefits from these profits? No. Yeah, Harley, I'm already flagged for bullying and harassment. We've been on for 6 minutes. Sheesh. Um, but no, Trump has been siphoning that money over to a bank account, well, a primary bank account in Qatar. And then there's some being held by the US Treasury. Now, ask yourself why US president needs to take money that belongs to the US people and keep it in offshore accounts. And the reason behind this, I kid you not, they said that it can't be easily seized. Seized by who? But there's more news coming out of Venezuela. Venezuela's acting president calls for oil industry reforms to allow more foreign investment. Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, on Thursday asked lawmakers to approve reforms to the oil industry that would open the doors to greater foreign investment during her first State of the Union speech, less than 2 weeks after its longtime leader was toppled by the United States. Rodriguez, who has been under pressure by the Trump administration to fall in line with its vision for the oil rich nation, said sales of Venezuelan oil would go to bolster crisis stricken health services, economic development, and other infrastructure projects. She outlined a distinct vision for the future, straying from her predecessors, who have long railed against American intervention in Venezuela. Let's not be afraid of diplomacy with the U.S., said Rodriguez. Sister girl, how do we go from calling upon the militias within Venezuela to this? Is it because he took a meeting with the Nobel Peace Prize winner? And you think that maybe he may endorse her? Y'all do realize a Trump endorsement means nothing in other countries. We can't vote there. MAGA loyalists can't come over and vote. And legacy media in the United States, I'm going to need y'all to stop feeding the gremlin beast that is the MAGA faction of the current iteration of the GOP. It makes them more emboldened. It makes them more inclined to lie. It makes them more inclined to fabricate quote unquote evidence. The world does not respect Donald John Trump Sr. They don't. Okay. If you didn't catch that, when the European Avengers showed up with Zelensky, when they pulled up on him, like, hey, you going to help broker this peace deal or not? Or you just going to keep claiming that you do? When Greenland was like, we don't want to be a part of the United States, go F yourself. Like, hey, Tracina. Like, I need y'all to realize that nobody's towing the line with Trump. Oh yeah, Harley, I don't know how anybody eats McDonald's every day, but Trump loves it, and we love that for him. Clog those arteries. And for those that are still proud of ICE and claiming that this is what you voted for, I want you to pay attention to this. ICE throw flashbang at family car as 6 kids hospitalized, including a 6-month-old baby. Let me repeat. In the car where ICE threw a flashbang at them, a 6-month-old baby. Now keep in mind that it's already been uncovered that ICE is being trained and Border Patrol agents to step in front of cars in order to have an excuse to use deadly force. They reconfirmed this by post on Twitter. Yes, I know what his adoptive stepdaddy calls it. I call it what his bio daddy named it. Okay. But if you're going to keep claiming, which a motor vehicle can be a deadly weapon, we all know this. So why do you keep doing things to cause it to become uncontrollable? ICE are people that spend all their money on Call of Duty. Oh, yeah. Woo, that's a word. That is a word. ICE agents are alleged to have used flashbang grenades on a vehicle belonging to a man and his family as they tried to leave their home during tear gas deployment and protests in Minneapolis on Wednesday. Also, ICE, I need y'all to make up your mind. You keep saying you want civilians to stay out of your way. Civilians try to get out of your way, and those are who you attack. A recount of the harrowing incident was shared online and was posted online with a witness claiming ICE agents just flashbanged and tear gassed a 6-month-old baby. She further explained ICE agents began tear gassing a residential neighborhood after shooting a man nearby. As the gas spread, a family got into their vehicle to escape the tear gas. In the video, a man is seen standing in front of a car with airbags deployed on all sides, explaining that he told the agents he was trying to leave his house with his family because of the tear gas. It comes after an out of control ICE agent yelled a disgusting 3-word slur before shooting a woman 5 times. Despite this, an agent threw multiple flashbang grenades at the vehicle anyway while children were inside. Minneapolis, Nana J. Still Minneapolis. If these agents, because their consistent excuse, consistent defense, if you will, heavy on the air quotes, is that they're fearing for their lives. If you fear for your life that much, that's not the career field for you, number one. Number two, why are you messing with people in moving vehicles and then prohibiting them to be in control of the vehicle? So now we're looking at cars filled with children. And we're like, yeah, let's throw tear gas and flashbangs at them. Also, why are we tear gassing suburban neighborhoods? The narrative that you all put out is that undocumented immigrants don't work, steal, are low class and low brow. So why are we in the suburbs? Why are we in the suburbs? Because I thought it was protect suburban families, protect suburban women. That was some of your biggest talking points during the last race to POTUS Mountain. Why are you there? And why are you in residential neighborhoods willy-nilly throwing tear gas? I saw videos and I saw still photos. There were rubber bullets, casings left, tear gas container, like all of these things on residential streets. Why ICE don't run down on the trailer park? Baby, listen, question of the decade. Because if you want the places where people would hide and be able to hide in plain sight, they're not going. They're claiming that they did all of these investigations, but they have no warrants. They have no names. They have no descriptions of who they're supposed to be looking for. They don't know who's a citizen, who's not, who has a court date, who doesn't. But even if they did give descriptors, most of them can't read. And no, I'm not being mean. That has been confirmed. What's also been confirmed is that they have a loading/unloading area in Wisconsin. But where is the hashtag protect the children crowd? What happened to the don't tread on me people? What happened to the I'm locked and loaded for Civil War 2.0? Don't take my guns. I need my guns because the government ain't going to tell me what to do. And what happened to all of the states' rights people? What happened to, at the end of the day, it should be left up to the states. And first of all, that is one of the dumbest arguments I've heard in my entirety. Because if you want everything left to the states, why don't we just become the American Union, where we just go back to being individual countries? Because there's no reason for us to pay federal taxes if we don't want the federal government to federal government. And those of y'all that couldn't handle a passport just to get out of these 50 states, and y'all can't even remember which of the 50 states are a part of the 50 states. Well, the 40-something states and a handful of commonwealths, but pish posh. No reason to get into the details. What y'all gonna do when you can't cross state lines to go to your favorite outlet mall? Well, some of y'all that find it cheaper to live in one state and work in another one. Like, where are all these people? Because I did notice that the don't tread on me people were able to take all of that paraphernalia, all of those flags, and put them up the way that the Confederates told them to put up those flags way back in the day. I guess we're no longer ready to take on the Civil War 2.0. I guess this isn't tyrannical for them. A president continuously bypassing Congress. A DOJ ignoring the judiciary while being a part of the judiciary. Citizens being run down and gunned down in the streets. While the sitting president of the quote unquote free world is telling other countries to stand up and fight for their rights. While the taxpayers of the United States are paying for the health care that they've been told isn't health care or we don't have the budget for. That's like your parents when you were a child telling you that we ain't got no McDonald's money at home, but they go to McDonald's and pick it up for the neighbor's kids. What? What? Hmm? Hmm? Hmm. Oh, and what happened to the blue bracelet ladies? What happened to the purple revolution people? What happened to the let's start a new underground railroad after the Dobbs decision, aka Roe v. Wade, was overturned? What happened to if I was alive when Anne Frank walked the earth, I would have hit her. And I kept saying, no, you wouldn't. Stop denying actual history. No, you wouldn't. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. If the opportunity presents itself, yes, I would. No, you wouldn't. Because Anne Frank should have died of natural causes. Hey, cousin. And I'm going to tell you why and how Anne Frank should have died of natural causes. Anne Frank was on a ship to the United States for refuge. And the United States said, turn that around, get somebody else to do it. When I tell y'all the United States got into that war, because it no longer had a choice. The playbook came from the United States. There were spies from the United States helping out that minute mustache man. A lot of y'all are like, this is not the America that I knew. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And you know that it's the America that you've always known. You just can't deny knowing it now, but you still want to give yourself plausible deniability. Huh? What? This is the same country that started programs and opened up its arms to Nazis. This is the same country that says, yes, let's reenact the Civil War and teach it improperly, but then tell the darkies to forget about it. This is the same country that was like, you know what? We cool with y'all shutting down multiple school districts after we finally established school districts and said, hey, maybe we shouldn't send small children into factories to work to pay the bills for their families. That was like, yeah, shut those school systems down instead of letting the melanated go to school with us. Because they weren't concerned about their children being left behind. They had grandfathering and nepotism. You know, the parents of networking. See, old school networking wasn't you going and making connections and kind of softball selling yourself to people in your industry or an array of industries. No. No. It was white people making sure white people had jobs, whether they were qualified for them or not. Oh, yeah. The lead poison and the lead poisoning inside the houses, too. Lead in the paint, lead in the wallpaper, lead in some of the fabrics. The abuse and the high death rates in those. Yep. This has always been the United States that you've known. Patriotism in the United States was not meant for anybody except for cisgender, faux Christian white men that pretend to be straight, that continue to make societal standards that suffocate them and keep them in a box that they don't want to be in. It's the most sadistic crap I've ever seen. In the United States, the biggest portion of indoctrination is indoctrinating people to not believe what they see with their own eyes and hear with their own ears. Because I will never understand how you can look at something, how you can hear something and allow somebody else to come up and tell you that that's not what happened. Hmm? Hmm? But there's a fascination of wanting to sit at the cool kids table. But who determined those were the cool kids? Because anytime you ask somebody about the qualities of the cool kids sitting at the table, it always comes down to something monetary. How they dress, how their hair is, how much money you think that they have. Oh, because the richest people spend the least amount of money. The richest people get the most subsidies, aka the most Section 8, the most handouts. Mm-hmm. This is why so many people think that the existence of the trans community means that it's an attack on their womanhood, their manhood, their this, that, and the other, because you're not defining anything for yourself. You're not setting any standards for yourself. The rules and standards that you are setting stifle you. For what reason? I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. Let me give y'all this example, okay? It is like you finding your dream home. And then you make everything in that dream home uncomfortable for you. You make all of the rules in that house uncomfortable for you, and you sit there and complain about it. You're the one in control of it. You are in control of it. In reality, would you do that? And don't start with well, I got to check with my husband. If I have a roommate, you know what I'm talking about. You don't have to be contrarian. It is not a quirky personality trait. Now, if you all remember, towards the end of 2025, century one of Trump Senior 2.0, there was a bit of a scandal with the NBA, some players, and some mafioso. And we only knew the names of some players, some coaches, some trainers. I didn't really know about the mafioso. Well, we have an update. NCAA basketball players and gambling fixers are charged for allegedly rigging games. An investigation. Wait a minute, hold on, quick. When we gonna do this for the NFL? Patriots, I'm looking at you. Brady, come to the front. Looking at you. I'm very much so looking at you. An investigation into a sprawling betting scheme to rig NCAA and Chinese Basketball Association games ensnarled 26 people, including more than a dozen college basketball players who tried to fix games as recently as last season, federal prosecutors said Thursday. The scheme generally revolved around fixers recruiting players with the promise of a big payment in exchange for purposefully underperforming during a game, prosecutors said. The fixers would then place big bets against the players' teams into the games, defrauding sports books and other bettors, authorities said. This was in conjunction with people claiming to have fixed NBA games and players, coaches, trainers fixing card games in the Hamptons. Now, once again, I'm slightly joking and slightly not. Whose idea was it to recruit very large black men and send them to the Hamptons to do crimes, thinking that that wasn't going to raise suspicion? If you're going to try to throw games, your best bet is to get the bench warmers that get in a little while, okay? The ones that are there for moral support, to get in the ears of certain people, okay? Not the star players. That'd be like going to LeBron, okay? And be like, hey, or Stefan, and be like, hey, just shave it. No. Have you met a basketball fan? And especially a collegiate level basketball fan. Okay, because there's a difference. Okay, some of y'all will get this, some of y'all won't, but I can't hold your hand and walk you through everything. Okay, the difference is like the difference between a First Baptist and a Southern Baptist. If you know, you know. If you don't, let it fly over your head. They pay close attention, very close attention. Okay, there are fans that before the tip-off can tell you, I think they got a little fever. Them finals getting to them. I know they missed some practices. Look at. You think that they don't know? And the ones betting on the games, baby, they know how much cholesterol in them kids' blood. And athletes, I do not care what level you are on. Let me explain this to you. I don't care what level you are on. I don't care what race or ethnic background you hail from. Don't do this, not just because it's illegal. Don't do this because you're low man on the totem pole. They will put everything on your back. And if you have certain complexions, they're going to make it seem like you are the mastermind. that you intimidated them in some way to go along with what you got going on. And because we have not achieved education to a proper level that we can achieve equity, they will go along with it to perpetuate other narratives and to keep stereotypes going. Even though we know some of the most notorious scandals when it comes to the sporting world were in the hands of white people. Once again, patriots looking at you. And not just because I have a one-sided beef with y'all, pretty much that I have a one-sided beef with y'all, but there's a whole lot of evidence out there that y'all some cheaters. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just waiting for y'all to agree to put a big, hefty asterisk next to Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. 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 Well, this keeps on to take me back to there. No. I want you to hear a little something about the daywalker we all can't stand. Powder 2.0. You never saw the movie Powder? Look it up. Okay. And to the person who keeps stealing content from me and content ideas, go ahead. Suggest the movie to your fake wannabe boyfriends. It's creepy, but you don't have a personality. So I guess I can lend you a little bit of mine. I guess.
Last night, Jimmy Kimmel played some unearthed videos of Stephen Miller from high school on his show, and it proves that even back then, he was an awful person. Just watch.
Am I the only one who is sick and tired of being told to pick up my trash? Yes. We have plenty of janitors.
What a lovely young man, huh? Even for 2002, that was apparently too much. And then, so then when they tried to bring up the next speaker, all of a sudden it was okay to resist the authorities.
Next up, thank you, Stephen.
He was trying not to give up the microphone. Now, if you watch The Sound of Coffee or listen to The Sound of Coffee here at gcpr.live, Thomas the Villain Bishop has talked about this well. Stephen Miller has an issue with janitors, with janitorial staff. He wants old school servitude. And that goes deeper than racism. Because a lot of times when people are talking about quote unquote traditional settings, that was basically just white people existing, working where they wanted to, how they wanted to, when they wanted to, and other people keeping them alive and doing everything for them. And those other people are not always, and many times were not people of color. Well, not people of color, how you know that to be defined in 2026. See, once upon a time, before this hierarchy of race was fully established the way that we know it now, it was very much so a caste system of employment, aka skill. Because whether you know it or not, the term white trash didn't come from the rest of us that contained melanin. It came from fellow white people because they felt that, hey, we have this great system where your mediocrity should make you profitable, should make you at least comfortable. And you're not even using the leverage and the privileges that we've laid out in front of you with all of these systems. And you're still one of the poors. You're on the same level as the dog is. So they considered them white trash. They considered them trash. And I've seen a few theories going around saying who are the Svengalis for Trump. And people are like, oh, Chrissy Num is on the chopping block. And then they're like, Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi is on the chopping block. You can tell who starts getting skittish because they amp up their rhetoric and everything. No, who has never been fearful? Who says some of the most egregious things and then, wait for it, 5 minutes later, Trump says it? Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is the one son that Trump wished he had. No desire to be in the military, tyrannical, kisses Trump's ass, and gives Trump ideas in a way that Trump can walk out and pretend like they're his ideas, that he came up with what he believes are complex ideologies. He believes that Stephen Miller makes him look good, which makes Stephen Miller his Svengali. With everything we have learned about Stephen Miller thus far, who else's dreams are coming true right now? There's no skating around Trump Sr. being a staunch racist, an idiot, a misogynist, a rapist. But look back to his first term. Look back over his history of just existing on this third rock from the sun. His beliefs aren't this radicalized. He's not this intent. Stephen Miller sat back and took notes. You all remember when the official race for POTUS Mountain started for this last presidential election, I told you all. Trump wants his ego stroked. And that's who's going to be the closest to him. Now, just like his obsession with Greenland is because a friend, use the term loosely when it comes to Trump, because he really doesn't have friends. He has people that he will label that for a little bit, but he ain't writing his name at the bottom of his shoe like he Andy. This ain't Toy Story, okay? You here for a short time, not even a good time. Definitely not a long time. He had a friend who told him, yeah, wouldn't it be cool if you took over Greenland? Now he's obsessed with it because he wants to impress that person. He wants to prove to that person that he's the biggest, baddest, boldest. Remember when he and Marco Rubio were still battling back and forth for the presidential nomination? And Marco Rubio cracked a joke about his hands being little. And before a debate, Trump just had to prove it a point. I don't have little hands and nothing else is little either. But Stephen Miller controls like an old school wife. And what do I mean by that? Some women and femme presenting individuals of a certain age, of certain generations, will know exactly what I'm talking about, but let's get into it. There was a period of time where young ladies and femme presenting individuals were taught something. If you make a man, specifically your husband, believe it's their idea, it's more likely to get done. And many people were taught many different techniques on how to get this done. That's what Stephen Miller does. And because Trump craves the approval that he never got from anyone in his family and that he withholds from his own sons, because let us not forget how on national TV, Eric Trump was so proud that there was a clip. Trump was caught on camera saying that Eric Trump was a good boy. And he said, yeah, he said, I'm a good boy. I am a good boy. A grown man you saw revert back to a child. Trump wants that. Stephen Miller fills that in for him. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Yes, you're the biggest, baddest, smartest to ever do it. Yeah, you know that testing at the hospital, that's just a show that can't nobody compare to you, that you doing the damn thing. It's no different than, honey, what made you decide to redecorate the whole bedroom and put in a walk-in closet? I would have never thought about anything like that, honey. After you done riddled him with catalogs, coupons, Groupons, and everything else. And convince your good sister friend to have her husband as your husband's bestie to about how much money that they saved and how happy they were and all the little spicy favors he got after he got that done. Mhm. Now, who remembers Mahmoud Khalid, a college student who missed the birth of his first son with his wife, who was held in ICE custody and denied so many levels of due process? We have an update. You might feel like coming out the bag on this update. Just going to forewarn you. Okay. Court ruling jeopardizes freedom for pro-Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalid. And for everybody on the left that believes that Palestine is the litmus test for the United States, where have y'all been? Where are y'all at? And just a reminder to keep up with people who, companies, etc., that you should be boycotting information on the Palestinian history, the Palestinian struggle, how to help the Palestinian people. You can find that listing at Camp Taz at camptaz.blogspot.com at blogspot.com. Sorry. A federal appeals panel on Thursday reversed a lower court decision that released former Columbia University graduate student Mahmoud Khalid from an immigration jail, bringing the government one step closer to detaining and ultimately deporting the Palestinian activists. The three-judge panel of the Third U.S. District Court of Appeals didn't decide the key issue in Khalil's case, whether the Trump administration's effort to throw Khalil out of the U.S. over his campus activism and criticism of Israel is unconstitutional. But in its 2-1 decision, the panel ruled a federal judge in New Jersey couldn't have jurisdiction to decide the matter at this time. Federal law requires the case to fully move through the immigration courts first before Khalil can challenge the decision they wrote. That scheme ensures that petitioners get just one bite at the apple, not 0 or 2, the panel wrote. But it also means that some petitioners, like Khalil, will have to wait to see relief for allegedly unlawful government conduct. The law bars Khalil from attacking his detention and removal in a habeas petition, the panel added. Where are these are my God-given rights people? Where are the traditionalists, the constitutionalists at this point? Where are the people who kept screaming that racism no longer exists within these borders? Where's Jill Stein? Where are all of her supporters? Where is the Green Party right now? Because this would be their time to rise up and make themselves a viable federal level party. Midterms are coming up. They could fill up seats going all the way. This is the time to establish themselves. For all the quote unquote leftists, they're like, well, don't vote for Jasmine Crockett because, Palestine. Where are they now? Have you been putting money on this man's books? Have you been making sure that he had legal representation? Is that why we don't hear you right now? Hmm? Hmm? No, you haven't, and you won't. Because you're using people's lives as if this is a game of Sims just to impede the progress of specifically Black women. Because it's only when Black women make the moves that you cry out and say that we need to make the moves for in order to protect you. See, you want our labor, but you don't want our labor in the spotlight. You don't want our labor in a way that we can take credit for it. You don't want our labor in a moment where we can be written into the history books. But since Trump took office and started to once again show his true colors as if he ever had an opportunity to hide them, I don't know how you are the shade of glow in the dark orange and think that you're going to hide anything anywhere. You've been screaming black women, black women, black women, black women. And there have been a handful of Black women that were like, you know what? Let me pick up the phone and let them know that I hear them and I'm going to do something about it. And you stood in the way each and every time. The same people that were screaming, where's Kamala? Why can't she fix it? She's a private citizen. And even if she would have said, you know what? Let me go ahead and run for governor. Y'all would have found a way to tell people not to vote for her again. You are the Archie Bunkers of civil rights. You want, nope, let me take that back. Because even though Archie complained about everything, he actually was pretty progressive for a racist. I know, sounds like an oxymoron. No, you are the honeymooners of civil rights. You believe that complaining and keeping up negative discourse is healthy. You think that you're contributing to society by doing this. You are no different than the people who think that a healthy romantic or even familial or platonic relationship means that you got to keep being in disagreement and disarray with one another. No. And so many of you all think that, oh, my little following, my little quote unquote public is small. Nobody's really going to listen to me. Yes, they are. And you know that. You know how impressionable people are. And you took the time to build trust with them just to lie to them. Like the young lady on TikTok that got a bunch of engagement and made tons of money off of attacking Beyonce, to turn around and literally laugh in y'all faces and go, the money that I made, I bought Beyonce tickets, I'm going to see Cowboy Carter. And yet every time she comes out and attacks a Black woman, because she knows it's profitable, especially as a biracial Black woman who can go, see, it's just the Black people that don't accept me. Y'all were going to line her pockets. I saw a video today that was a snippet of a documentary. First thing out of this woman's mouth. Now, first of all, she claimed that she spent 15 years in prison in Trinidad for drug trafficking. First thing out of her mouth was, well, growing up biracial, I wasn't Black enough for the Black community. Then as I'm watching this clip, the only people supporting her, sending her money, getting her attorneys was the Black side of her family. And then she said that the day in court that changed her life, when she could get released, she's like, I knew that this judge would listen to me because she was a Black woman. So what was the point of saying what you said at the beginning? And also, the career that she had, everything that was going positive in her life was attached to Black people. The one thing that I caught up on that wasn't attached to Black people was why she was in prison and who was able to act like they didn't know nothing about it, etc. It's profitable. And they will tell you the truth right to your face. This is no different as to how the Trump regime is able to sit and tell you, yeah, we just don't like the motherfuckers and we just gonna take the shit from them. Trump's like, yeah, we're keeping the oil. And what? And good old patriots, aka non-deconstructing, white people have been working overtime to lie. Trump didn't lie to them. They lied to themselves. They knew exactly what they voted for. The ability to openly lie so that they could feel more comfortable in their hatred, in their tyranny, in showing their true colors of their ancestry, savagery. It's not a complex equation. It doesn't take 1,000,001 think pieces and hot takes to know. Renee Nicole Good lost her life within 3 days. They created fake criminal records, fake mugshots that made no sense. I've seen multiple posts where they've taken pictures of women that don't look anything like her, made Facebook posts about it, make fake pages pretending to be this detention center, this correctional facility, that instead of turning over this bombshell information to the DOJ to help the DOJ's case against the dead woman, they're just going to put it up on Facebook and nothing matches. Speeding up videos, they're willing to lie to protect one another, and then cry and scream and kick when they need someone to tell the truth, when the tyranny comes knocking on their door. See, people talk about not snitching predominantly when it comes to the Black community. Non-deconstructing Europeans take not snitching to a whole nother level because they'll fabricate information. They'll come up with alibis and lies and all these narratives to protect the perpetrator when they know who the perpetrator is. Then cry and scream and have snot bubbles rolling all down their lips on social media going, for 20 years, I was abused by insert church, insert political party, insert the name of their family. Everybody knew that my daddy and my uncle and my mom and my auntie did X, Y, and Z. And no, I'm not making fun of victims, but you help cover for other people. You helped cover. And now you're shocked that they're not coming to help. And here is the biggest kicker. Other white people know that what the victims say is true. And they're still not going to come to the rescue because they need to protect their own lives. I need y'all to think about what subset of society consistently is trying to talk the rest of us out of no contact, whether it's no contact with a friend, a family member, a former love interest. Who does it the most? Who consistently is, well, we can still be friends even though politically we don't see eye to eye. I know I'm conservative, but why can't you date me? Well, as we're rounding out, let me also remind you all that Trump and his administration are still confirming that he is still mulling over trying yet again to invoke the Insurrection Act for the chaotic circumstances that are occurring in Minnesota right now. Just keep that in your back pocket. That you have a regime, yes, a regime, that is creating the scenario that so many people were tossing around when we were having the man versus bear discussion. Your POTUS is bringing that scenario to life, trying to provoke people into no longer being counted by the census as alive. But as always, thank you for tuning in to today's The Taz Effect. Tomorrow, do not forget, we will be going over news that you can find from all over social media. And yes, I'm still combing through everything. Yes, if you miss any of the shows live and in living color, you can always go back on Substack or on YouTube and watch any of the episodes of the Taz Effect for anything that you missed. For those listening in on GCPR Radio, thank you so much. And for those listening and watching on Facebook, Substack, YouTube, and TikTok, thank you as well for chiming in. If you would like to advertise your small business, mid-sized business on GCPR, make sure you visit us at gcpr.live and go ahead and give us a shout out. As always, I will see you all later on tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central to over the next chapter of Nobody's Daughter by Virginia Roberts Giffray. As always, each one teach one, each one reach one. I'll see you all later. Be good, or at least good enough not to require bail, and bail is only required if you get caught.